All right, people, welcome. All right, so I'm back on the lives again. Let's continue with where we left off. I'm gonna go straight to the dollar index without wasting any time. Let's take a look at what we've got going on now. The dollar index now is at 106, and I still have the markings of what we're talking about here, if you can remember. Now, over here was where we were looking for. Now, that fair value gap that we left behind here, you can see that price is still inside of this supply zone that I was talking about, which is really exciting for the future of what we've got going on. Now, at the moment, H4 and H1, the price has just taken the high of the previous week, which, I mean, I'm going to take off these lines now because we're right in the depths of this supply order block. But we have this high here of the previous week that the price has gone for with such strong speed and velocity in just this day gone. And now that the price has taken this high, this may very well be a very simple and easy trigger that can give us the reversal we need. Now, this liquidity gap, trust me, I know the price is going to fill this at some point. Now, today is a Monday. Today, I took a bit of a loss, about 1%, I think, on average on my accounts, which is natural, is normal. What I do expect the price to do, though, moving forward, is to give us some sort of clarity from today for tomorrow about what it wants to do. Now, because this is NFP week, of course, we have to be extra careful because with NFPs comes, crazy stuff that can go along with it, good or bad, depending on what side you're on. Now, my focus always is to look for the major signals for that key reversal that we're looking for. And at the moment, the price is in a really healthy place that it can actually produce that. Now, I get the sense that the price wants to run this weekly high, maybe push a little bit higher before starting to push short. Now, you can see my markings here. The price is exactly at where I expected it to go. And it's happened actually a lot more quickly than I expected, or in time with what I expected, to be fair, because I told you guys that by the NFP results, that the week of NFPs, which is this week here, I'm sure the price is going to get into this area. And lo and behold, for no apparent reason at the moment, the price is just shooting long into this area. And not just anywhere. Right now, it's hanging around at the high of the previous week, which is also the high of the previous month. So whenever the price takes the high of a previous month and week at the same time, and it's the same high, that is pretty significant. And if the market closes beneath it in terms of body, but the wick stays above it, then that will signal to us that we could potentially have a really good reversal. Of course, we're going to need a market structure break or multiple market structure breaks to confirm this, but primarily this is what I'm looking for. Now, it really is down to what the price does in the next couple of hours. Now, I know I'm on a little bit later than usual, but that's okay. We can still have, there's still a lot of price action taking place and going on in the market. Now, for me in the UK, every 4 hours, with the next candle being formed in an hour and 5 minutes, every 4 hours on the H4, we get this H4 candles formed. So the next one's happening in an hour and 4 minutes, and then the last one is going to continue until around about 9. Okay, then the market cuts off and it opens again, I believe at 1 o'clock, something like that. Now, with that in mind anyway, what we got to see, or what we need to see, is what price is how price closes above this high, monthly and weekly high at the same time. Depending on the price closing, how the price behaves at this high will determine whether we're going to continue for another long or we're going to continue short. Now, in the scenario, in the situation where the price has a very strong close or above this area, then we have to be prepared for another continuation long. But at the moment, you can see that the price is hanging here pretty nicely and lining up to be a moment where we could actually see the price give us a very nice movement. Now, first and beginnings of months are always going to be, chaotic and just loud and noisy, because in the futures market, every single month, new futures contracts are formed and others are liquidated. So that movement of money in and out of the market, bonds markets, and etc., different bonds coming to maturity or US treasuries, all of these different things, they all are based on time. And this is why time and price is another important theory in your arsenal to have, is the relationship between the time in the market and price, whether it's the open and close of certain sessions like US session, UK session, but also if it's to do with the aspects in regards to things like news weeks and weeks when news is going to come out, when, those kind of things. That's another aspect of time and price as well. Now, for me, whenever the market is, in this stage at a time that I was expecting, like right now, we've had this strong move on a Monday, which is not common, if we be honest with ourselves, as people who have traded for a while. It's not common to see such a strong move on a Monday. Usually see those things coming on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, maybe even Fridays, you know. But seeing it happen the way it's happened right now lets us know that there's some sort of an agenda. Well, there's always an agenda behind the price, but there's a very strong agenda towards a certain price point by people who have the money to move the markets, efficiently. So right now, this situation of looking at the high is where my focus is. And of course, I do have setups. All of the major pairs can be used as setups, but we really have to kind of ascertain to what the dollar index is doing here. Now, this liquidity gap I told you about, the buy order aggregates that are here, you can see the first buy order aggregate was taken, but the price has come to the second and not done that yet. It's launched from the second and filled this liquidity void here and then gone long. But we still got one more, a gap down until we get to this order block of supply. So I'm intrigued to see how the dollar is really going to fare out with what happens next. Now, if I go over and we have a look at some of the setups that I've got now, in terms of major pair setups, now I took USD CHF today for a short because actually expecting the price to give us that. Now, unfortunately, it didn't obey my commands and has actually done the opposite thing and gone all the way long instead, which is now looking in hindsight, I actually made a little bit of a mistake here to take that short. It was a bit too early. I got a bit too excited and ready, but that wasn't the right area to short from whatsoever. And then I had to pay for it. So on the H4, see the price is pushing up further long. We had this pullback here that the price did, but this pullback here was just a pullback to continue in the same direction, because you can see from the dollar index what's going on. Now, with the dollar index, if I had looked at it this morning, then I would have known not to take USD CHF for the short, and then I've just seen this as a return to actually take off for a long. But that's my mistake anyway. So now we've come to 4 o'clock, the benchmarking time. We can see that a lot of these pairs have been doing some fantastic moves. I think even stuff like ADUSD, this kind of range structure it has here, you could have caught the top and bottom here. Now, when I say could have, I wasn't trading it at all. I wasn't looking at it. But just looking back at these, I can see how much opportunity is available, or how much opportunity is available. NZDUSD, same kind of thing. Now, if I be real with myself, all of these have setups, but I guess my mind is on the few. The first one is obviously GU. GU is an amazing setup, which I kind of gave you guys a hint about before it happened. And you can see here, price actually came back into this zone here and actually done a pretty good move. It came straight for these equal highs. You can see exactly at these equal highs is where it came to. That's what I'm saying. That when other people say that there is no algorithm to the market, I think it's just sad to hear, because it's hard for you to not believe that there is an algorithm that controls price when you have situations like this where there's perfectly equal highs on the previous day. The market, for whatever reason, pushes all the way back up here, and where does it stop? It takes the equal highs and reverses exactly down straight away. You can't make that up. This was a perfect kind of reaction over here, and it gave 105 pips. I wish I was looking at this, because that was such a no-brainer. Such a no-brainer. Fantastic trade that was. But this is an example of how these things work. Now with USD CAD, it's been on a wave of its own. If you look at USD CAD has done from Friday into now 260 pips almost, which is unbelievably crazy. It's just literally shot up like a rocket. Now, finding the cause for this movement, let's go over here to the monthly. So finding a cause for this movement over here, we'll have to look at the price action in detail here and figure it out. So across to the left, I see that we have a supply flip zone, which is where the price launched off from. And the reality is that we had this low come for all of the lows until it stopped here to grab liquidity, as some of you will say, or to trigger buy stops, sell stops, excuse me, and then take off long. Now, the way the price moved, it didn't really seem to give much of a chance for anyone. It actually didn't even fill out this liquidity gap over here, which is another interesting sign. And the reaction away from the zone has been so powerful to the point where if I look over here, if we look to the left here, there's a supply order block that controlled the price and pushed this price down here, gave us a Judas swing. When the price broke above this area, it didn't even return, which means we have a lot of inefficiency in price, from this area. This fast move away is going to be met with another move that comes back into this area. Now, how that's actually going to be performed, there are several different ways we can go for it. All right, we have this fair value gap situation. I call it a validation point over here. And we also have the high of the previous month, which is the high of September here. And at this high of September, it'll be very easy for the price to take the high right here. So take this high over here and then actually go for a short here. So this can work very well as well. The price wicks into this supply order block and this FVG/validation point on the daily. And then after we have a short, because the price would have taken the high of the previous month, which will definitely have sell stop liquidity above this, or buy stop liquidity above this high that can be liquidated, and that will cause some sort of reversal. So I'll be watching for that and seeing what USD CAD does with it. So USD CAD and pound USD are pretty good right now. USD CHF was nice again, don't get me wrong, but I just think that USD CHF needs a little bit more zhuzh before I can get in, a little bit more information to give. I still think it's going to go for a short, but it's kind of a wait and see moment. Now, my third pair that I'm looking at is gold. Now, gold has been absolutely fantastic, ridiculously fantastic. Now, the gap that we always spoke about has been filled now. You can see how strongly gold has moved down. This was the liquidity gap over here. And the market took the opportunity to do it now with this strengthening of the dollar, which I've been screaming for such a long time. Now, in terms of setup, I was watching to see if gold will come back here a second time and give us something, but it never did. Doesn't mean it won't, but it's very easy for price to reverse, especially with the NFPs this Friday. The strength of the dollar could be completely reversed temporarily, just to allow for the natural, flow of trends. And then from there, price makes a move back down, somewhere again. So this is really why this is the idea that I should, this is the idea that I come up with when it comes to structuring what we have going on as pairs to trade. Now, for me, looking at gold, this is probably one of my favorite pairs to trade right now. It's literally just been pushing in one direction. And I mean, every single day has been a short, which is just crazy to me. Over almost 1,000 pips right here. Now I want to see where gold is going to go, because as you guys know, that nothing ever goes short forever. And at some point, one way or another, because people are going to be in such great profit, having this short running for such a long time, there is going to be something in the market, most likely. It's literally just, I think, market nature now, that there is going to be some sort of long, which is going to have an attempt to wipe out at least as much of the trend followers as possible, because trend followers are making a hell of a lot of money. If you're in this short right now, I mean, even if you put 0.01 on this, you could still be making serious bank, let alone a one lot trade. So if I just grab this here and we look at where this trend really started from up here, let's go from there even. Now, even with 0.01, which means that with a position size of £3, so you could literally have a £10 account. Right now it'd be 840%. You'll be at, 994 pounds. Now 0.10 will be giving you 830. One lot will be giving you 8,300. I mean, there's so many different ways with these pairs what you can grab. Now, if you're having multiple entries every day, I mean, you'll be laughing. So right now, gold is in my sights. I do think that there is a reversal to come soon. I don't think it's going to be a very long-lived reversal. I think it's going to be a news-driven reversal that probably lasts a couple of days, like 2 days, and then off we go again. But of course, if the price wanted to do such a thing, there is an order block here, okay, that is a previous demand zone. It's actually the demand zone that pushed price up to where it got to for the year. Now, Hugo's Way is not displayed properly, which always makes me a bit annoyed because you can't really see what is actually going on. But if you have other charts, every other chart apart from Hugo's Way, for whatever reason, shows that clearly that the high of 2023 has actually run the high of 2022 and of 2020. So we had the highest point in history form in price, you know, this year with this massive move up that we have during April, May times. So right now, the game here is to look for some sort of reversal. My idea is that probably the price is going to reverse into the low here. This low here is a reference point the price can refer to at 1884, 1885. Return back here to where the gap was formed in the first place, because that's what these lines are about. And after the price gets to that reference point, if it goes further, it's cool. But if it doesn't, I'm expecting it to then rally short from here. Now, inside of this order block, we need some sort of trigger. Now the price is moving pretty strongly short right now. Can't really see where we're going to go with this, but there's still 4 trading days left. There's still a lot going on. There's still time to really get something going on over here. So my idea is just to wait for opportunity first, and then we jump in. Now, finally, with the US 30. Now, with the US 30, just to remind you guys about the correlation here, when the dollar is gaining strength, the US 30 is losing value over here, which means, in essence, it costs less money to buy the top 30 stocks that are mixed together. So the US 30 or top 30 by some is the weighted mean average of prices of all of the top 30 share prices or stocks in the US stock market. They're all added together and divided by a weighted mean. So once that happens, that's the value that we get. So if the dollar is gaining strength, even though the US 30 is going down, it's not necessarily a bad thing. It means that it actually costs less to buy all of these stocks because the dollar is stronger. There's more buying power behind it. Now, as you can see, the US 30 is just climbing down. Now, if it helps you to see it this way, which helps me, if you write the US 30 as US 30/USD, then you'll notice that the US dollar becomes a quote currency. And if the quote currency is the dollar and the dollar's gaining strength, then we expect everything to go short. So that's another way to see it. But anyway, the US 30 has done a pretty good drop. It left a gap here today and it's continued down this road. I actually saw this gap at market open and I was looking for a little bit of a higher entry price. I guess I was a bit too greedy with it. I wish I took it here because I was 4,003 pips. But tomorrow, hopefully, we'll see what happens on the reversal, if there is going to be one. Now, I can see that the price is trying to approach the weekly low. And so I want the US 30 to approach the weekly low first before I step in to make any judgments about anything. Now, the only problem is that the US 30 might even drop further because right now it's clearly starting to fill out this liquidity void that we've got here. And even though I know that there's a liquidity gap here and I've been speaking about it, the price doesn't have to fill it now. We'll fill it in 10 years if we wanted to. It's about what's happening in the present and then trading and what's going on in the present primarily. But just with the present, but just being aware of the future of what's going to go on. So I'm watching carefully to see what we get. For now, no trades for me. I already got stopped out today. I think I'm done for today. I'm going to allow the price to do what it needs to do. But all of this activity just shows you what we have going on now. On FX Street, if I go over to FX Street really quickly, I'll just go through the news with you guys as is the tradition. So we had an error out of the middle of nowhere. FX calendar. Let's just pull this up. So finishing this off, guys, let's have a look at the FX Street calendar for this week. You know, guys, that's my favorite calendar to look at. So let's just take a look here. Let's pull up this week really quickly. So if I click on this week right here and I press apply. So this week so far, we've had high impact news for today, which was the US news. Now, at the moment, we have a speech going on from Jerome Powell at 4 o'clock. And there's other speakers, which are the other people in the central bank of, I keep calling the central bank, the Federal Reserve of the US. So of course the market can definitely still be moving as it is now at 4 o'clock because there's anticipation. I don't really know what the speech is about, but I'm sure it's something that must be important or potentially important. Now, tomorrow, guys, or tomorrow night, which is today, we have our news at 4:30 in the morning. We have the Royal Bank of Australia's interest rate decision, which is set to be the same again. Now, if it remains the same again, then of course the Australian dollar, in this case, will probably have a bearish result. Okay, but if not, then it's going to obviously be the opposite, which is a bullish result, and that will cause the bullish price action to, occur. Now we also have the CPI of the Swiss franc 3 hours and 30 minutes later in UK time. Wednesday we have the Royal Bank of New Zealand's interest rate decision. So this is a pretty interesting week, no pun intended. Honestly, there's lots of interest rate decisions going on at the same time. There's quite a few. So we have the Australian, we have the New Zealand dollar one. We have some high impact news from the US and even from the euro. On Thursday, we get the ADP news, of course, because we're going to have the NFP news on Friday. So if I go over here to 1:15, okay, the ADP news is on Wednesday, not Thursday this time. So on Wednesday here, we have the ADP results, which is like the precursor to the NFPs. And then here we go. Here's the big day that we're all looking for. On Friday, we have the non-farm payrolls, high impacts news. We also have the Canadian dollar unemployment rate. So we have one of those months where both the NFPs and the unemployment rate will all be there. So we have a week that is absolutely jam-packed with news. So we need to be smart with how we deal with the markets and try to interact with healthy risk management before we get stopped out in really bad ways. Now, there's so much juicy opportunities, don't get me wrong. I took one today, which was worth the risk, and it just didn't play out like I wanted. So I don't even care about it whatsoever because I'm used to taking natural losses. Okay. Before every game, when you're a risk manager and a good trader and you take your time and maybe not trade as much, around the corner of every, failure is an opportunity for success. So this is how I see it. So for now, guys, no trades. I'm not going to jump into anything. If there is a scalp, there's a scalp. But if there's not, then there's not. I'll just leave it as it is. All right. So peeps, I'll be back on tomorrow again.